This is the old ceiling fan, and you can't really hear it, but when you put it on high speed, it makes this whirling noise with the motors actually going out in it. So I'm actually take this ceiling fan down and put up a new one. So the next thing is to shut the power off. As you see, the power is off. The fan, I left the fan and the lights on so that I can confirm that the power is off. And as you see, the fan blades are slowing down and the light is already off. So for this particular style of ceiling fan, where it is flush mounted to the ceiling, and I can actually stop this, you see there's no down rod that exists. So usually the way that is connected is you have to take everything from the bottom up to get to the screws that are connected to the ceiling, and then the rest of that assembly comes down. So I'm gonna start here with the light bulb. I can get the globe off of the light bulb, but some light fixtures have big enough light bulbs that the bulb actually has to come out first, and then you take the glass off. And also, as you see, this light bulb actually needs to be taken out completely because the glass is wiggly independent of the socket itself. So it's a good thing I am taking this down, because after a while this thing just would have fell out by itself. So bulb first, then glass, and then proceed next to the ceiling fans, and then proceed to taking the motor and the housing that's up here down. So this is what I meant when the bulb was bad. As you see, this base here should not be able to freely move like this. You know, literally it's just dangling on by a thread. So, well, the wires in here. So this one goes straight to the trash. No need to recycle it. So since the ceiling fan has been up there for a very long time, I'm not sure how long, I might be able to find a tag on it. So I decided to put on gloves, and that'll keep the stickiness and dust and dirt off of the ceiling fan from getting on my hands. Alright, so as you see, I have the light bulbs and the globes off of the light part of the fixture. So the next step is to go in here, and as you see, there are screws, if this will focus. There we go. So there are screws for each fan blade, and the easiest way I do is to find a spot that you can easily access. So they'll probably be in between these two bulbs here, and then go in and unscrew them that way. If not, you can actually take this part of the fixture off by removing the screw here, and there are probably a couple others on each side. And then once you do that, then you should be able to access these screws that connect to the fan blade a little bit easier. So I'm going to do that now. Alright, so I now have the fan blades taken down, and so the next thing to do is to take this light kit off, because this globe up here will not actually come down around the light kit, so I have to disassemble that. I will be taking this screw as well as any other screws on here off, and then usually there are some kind of wiring connections inside of here that have to be disconnected as well, so I will do that. So I now have the light kit disassembled and unscrewed, as you see here. So next step would be to just disconnect these two wires, and then I'm able to pull down this housing around the fan motor. Alright, so I have completed the removal of the housing for the motor, as well as disconnected the screws for the motor that connect to here. And then there's two screws, as you can kind of see right there on the other end, and then they have two nuts that go on the end of those screws. So now that I have this disconnected, as you can see, I have all of the wiring. This particular fixture actually had lights in the housing as well as a light kit connected to the bottom here. So I'm not going to remove these bulbs, those can stay. Alright, so to cover the wiring, we have the white wire, which is the neutral. And then you also have a red wire here and a black wire. And so this black wire is connected to the blue wire, and that blue wire usually goes to the light. Let's see. So this sticker here says light kit on it. So this one is connected to the light. This one is connected to the fan. That way you can run the fan independent of the light. Since I have an older house, the way they used to do this was that they would have all of the wires would come to the box and then you will have what is known as a switch leg. That would be one wire would go to the light switch, and then a return wire would come back to this box, and then from there that return wire would connect to the actual fixture. And so this way is actually more modernized though, in a sense, because while this still has all the wires that come directly to it, it has two actual legs now. So in the current electrical code, you actually have two switches on the wall, one switch for the light, one switch for the fan, but they're all bundled in the same cable. And so what you get is you get a red wire, you get a black wire, you get a white wire, and you get a neutral, which would be over here. You get a ground, which would be over here. And so basically one of the wires that goes to the switch would control the red, the other wire would control the other switch, which is the black. And so that way you're able to control the light and the fan independently. Like I say, I have an older house, so there's only one switch on the wall. So the fan switch is actually on the light fixture itself instead of on the wall. So now I'm going to disconnect all of this and get the remaining piece of this housing down. And then I will go to opening the new fan and getting it installed. All right, so the thing about this particular setup, there is a joist right here, which is a good thing because then this mounting plate actually has something to connect to. The only problem is there's only one screw in it, so which makes sense because as the fan would run, it had a bad tendency to wobble, and as you see now with this back here, it's wobbling all freely. So in addition to having to pack this gap here, because I can stick my finger in there, as you see. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to pack that in. I don't know if you can see back there. Yeah, you kind of can. There's the wires, more wires back there. A little bit, you can see. So I had to pack the rest of this in. As you see, there are spider webs up here because obviously since this is open to behind the fixture, it allows things in. So I'm gonna have to seal that in, probably with some spray foam or something similar, and then put another screw in here to secure this the way it should have been secured, and then I can install the new fan. What I ended up doing was getting some insulation and filling the gap around the fixtures plate so that no critters or anything like that, spiders or whatnot, would be able to continue to come through anymore. As you see, I'm also having to clean off the ceiling here because I don't want that stuff behind the fan in the future. Granted, I don't plan on having to replace it anytime soon, but you know, it's best to start off with a clean slate as much as possible. Alright, so after doing that, then I put in the fan bracket for the new fan. As you see, I've covered the ends of the wires for the time being to get them through, and also so I can reuse those wire connectors. But the fan simply just connects to the mounting plate, and that's it. Then the next step is to attach the motor to the mounting plate, and also to connect all of the wiring. So you got the blue for the light, you got your neutrals, and then you also got your red to the fan. And then the mounting plate actually connects to the ground wire, which you see there. And so make sure you tuck your wires out of the way so that they are free of the fan motor. As you see I've done here, all the wires are pushed up to the very top. And then you can proceed to the next step, which is to put on the bell housing that covers everything up. Alright, so next step is to put the motor housing on. As you see, there's two screws here, and then there's two screws on the other side that have to be done. And then after that, put on the blades and the light kit. So ceiling fans usually have a light side and a dark side. Some of them are just two different shades of wood. So as you see, this is a darker side of wood on this particular fan blade. And then flip it over. There's a lighter side, so you just have to pick which side of the fan blade that you want based upon the rest of the decor in your room. I'm going to go with this side as the other wood that I have in the room is relatively closer to this side than it is to this particular side. Alright, so I got all the fan blades installed. This particular design has this notch here in the light housing connection, I guess you want to call this. And so you stick your screwdriver up through here, and in there you can actually see the screw heads for the fan blade. And the camera is struggling to catch that because of all this shininess up here. But essentially each screw head comes through in the opening, and you just take them one by one. And so the way I do put on ceiling fan blades, I usually put on, so I'll put like this one on first, and then I go opposite, and then I go opposite, opposite, so forth, in a similar pattern of how you would put or tighten the lug nuts on a car. So now that the blades are on, you check for free motion, make sure it's not binding or anything of that nature. And as you can see, it's spinning freely. So next step would be to put on the light kit. All right, so in this light kit, I have it attached already. As you see, there's a blue wire and a white wire that comes out of the fixture. And then there's a black wire and a white wire on the actual light kit itself. So the blue wire goes to black and white goes to white. White's being neutral and your blue and black being the hot. The blue wire represents the wire. This blue wire actually goes all the way up through and into the top of the fan where it connects at the junction box. So that's why that one's blue instead of black, because the black one traditionally goes to the fan motor and the blue goes to the light. So next is to tighten the light kit up to the fan and put the bulbs in. Alright, so I have the light kit connected and most of the globes on. Here's the final globe. I gotta put that on. So as you can see, there's this plastic ring that goes around the light socket, and that is what holds the globe up. The only problem is, so if I go over to this one, this plastic ring is that right there, and that's the socket. And so I don't consider myself to have big hands, but trying to put this thing in literally takes up the entire socket. So if you had bigger hands than mine, you probably wouldn't even be able to get your hand in there to tighten it. You probably have to use like 2 fingers or something. I don't know. But yeah, that was a very pain point. So gladly, there's only 4 of these on here and not like 15, because that would suck to try to get all of those on in such a very cramped space. So I wish the designers had designed this a little bit differently so that people with bigger hands would be able to handle it, but nonetheless, I was able to get it on. Last but not least, the light bulbs go into the fan. This one actually came with LED bulbs, so all I gotta do is just take it out of the box and install it. So just to show you, it looks like a standard, light bulb, but it's LED, as you can tell, because of the base here. So got to install these, and that'll be it. The power has been restored, and so as you see, the ceiling fan is on and working. As you see, I've tested both functions, the fan and the lights. And so also you just go pull the chain. I actually have to install the chain extensions as well. But that's so simple. It just clips on to the end of what's currently there. I'm actually going to do an installation review of this particular fan in a different video, so be sure to stay tuned and check that out in the upcoming weeks. If you have any questions, please drop those in the comment section below. Until next time, peace out.